Dr. Stephen Malthouse is with us tonight. Thank you.
I'm going to talk now a little bit about Bill 31, which is called the Emergency and Disaster Management Act. This BC passed this new legislation. It's aimed at preparing for and mitigating emergencies. Now, if we look back, it was in 2015 that the UN met in Japan to come up with something very similar to this, the Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. And if you look at the material that they came out with, this is back in 2015, you can see the term "build back better." I know many of you have seen that more recently. We also see that it's a UN initiative. So this may look back into who is actually reaching into Canada to help us make these laws. But they made an update to the Emergencies Act. And why did they do that? Why did they change the definition of emergency? They include it now in this transmissible disease, environmental toxins, security threats, and terrorist activities on top of what they had already. Now, why did they do that? Well, you know, this is why they thought they did it. Because they were streamlining. Because they were modernizing. And they were clarifying. These are terms that you should always have your red flags go up when you see them. All right? These are excuses for changing something, and there may be an ulterior motive. So let's look at Bill 31. It's a big bill. Essentially, it's about emergencies and what they can do during those emergencies. So I'm just going to highlight a few things in here. You may notice that they brought in climate change as a reason for an emergency. Also, they have imposing large penalties for compliance, enforcement, and cost recovery. They never had this before. Next. Now, the local government, that means your municipality can also declare an emergency. It doesn't have to be a provincial emergency. If the local authority is satisfied that an emergency is present, and they have reasonable grounds to believe that it's present. Next. If the minister is satisfied that there's an emergency, on you go. An emergency can call for a variety of reasons, including supporting a specific initiative. General power to do all things necessary. The minister may, by order, do all acts and implement all procedures that the minister is satisfied are necessary. The minister has complete power. They can restrict travel, business, any event. They can take your land, your property, particularly your personal property. They can kick you out of your house if there's an emergency. And it is an offense to interfere with the actions of the government during this emergency time. What the penalties are: for a single person, imprisonment for a term of no more than 1 year and a fine of no more than $100,000. For a corporation, $1 million fine. Now, if you happen to be an officer, a director, an employee, you can be fined up to $300,000 and put in prison for 1 year. So what Bill 31 really means: an arbitrary decision by a politician in the form of declaring an emergency will allow the government to take what it wants from you and your family, and if you resist in any way, you will be punished. That's the bottom line. Not quite the end. Although it does seem a little bit bleak. And we're going to hear more tonight, but I think this is a good place to end. Next slide. The people don't know their true power. And I think that is a good reason that we're here tonight, so we can actually learn the problems, ask questions, and find out what we can do as grassroots to make changes. Thank you very much.